Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the rear brakes on a 2000 Chevy Cavalier. The operation is the same from the left side to the right side, as well for many of the model years of the Chevy Cavalier with rear drum brakes. In order to perform this repair, you're going to need a new set of brakes from 1A Auto, a 19mm socket and socket wrench, or if you have an impact wrench, use that, a hammer, a flathead screwdriver, needle nose pliers, needle nose vice grips, and a jack and jack stands.
Use the socket to remove, it's a 19mm socket, just loosen the lug covers and remove the hub cap. And then if you don't have the benefit of air tools, start with your vehicle on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, then raise and secure the vehicle and remove the wheel and tire.
To remove the rear drum, I'm going to tap on it and spin it a little bit to loosen it up. And eventually I'm going to hit it from the back side, making sure that I don't hit the backing plate. And once I get that loose, I'll be able to pull off the brake drum.
And if you want, you can do an inspection. Use your finger, feel for any deep grooves or gouges on the surface of the drums, and then also check the brake shoes. This vehicle, the shoes, everything's in pretty good shape, so we're just going to take it all apart, put it back together to show you.
I'm going to remove the springs. I'm using a pair of pinch nose vice grips, and you can see those two green springs. I'm going to start by taking those off and setting them aside. And I'm going to remove that last rod and pull it off the post. Set that aside. We're going to remove the two springs that hold the brake shoes in place. And in order to do that, again, I'm going to use the pinch nose pair of vice grips. What we're trying to do here is twist the cup that the spring sits in and line it up with the tabs on the cup and then the rod that goes through it. And by doing that, it'll release itself. And the best way is to get those pinch nose pliers, grab the outside edge, and twist until the spring comes off the rod with the cup. And you're going to do that for both sides, noting that the one that I'm working on here is going to go back in that same spot. They are not identical. Now pull off the arm that goes to the brake adjuster. Grab both shoes, spread them apart, slide them over the hub and off, and then disconnect the e-brake cable from the e-brake lever. And you're going to need to swap over this arm. It's on one of the brake shoes, and we're going to reuse these shoes, but I'm just going to show you here what you're going to need to do, because there's a very good chance that it's not going to come with, your new set of shoes is not going to come with this arm. It's just a stud with a E-clip on the end of it, and you just need a little flathead screwdriver to pry it off. And it'll go back on just the same way on the new set of shoes. And going back in, I've got that stud through there, I've got the arm going back on the stud, and I'm going to use a pair of pinch nose pliers to put the E-clip back on. Here's an up close of the brake shoe adjuster. You're going to want to make sure that that's freely moving. Place the brake shoes back in, and you can see how they're touching the wheel cylinder as well as the bar up top. Make sure that it's seated right there correctly, and that it's they're just being held in right now basically by a little bit of friction. Get your adjuster, slide it in the way that you see there. And then go ahead and put the spring in, make sure everything kind of stays in place, and then use a pair of pinch nose vice grips and reinstall the spring. That'll keep some tension on it so they don't fall out. Install the spacer washer on the rearmost shoe there, and you can put the arm back on, and that's going to rest up against the brake shoe and the adjuster star wheel on that bottom. Adjust your vice grips and reinstall the green spring and the cup. Hold from the back of the backing plate the pin that goes through, stick it through and twist until it seats. Do the same for the other spring and cup. Put your hand through, make sure that that pin sticks through. Go ahead and squeeze it and put it on. Reinstall the spring that goes against the brake shoe, the backing of the brake shoe, and that rod that we just installed. And you want the fat part down and the skinny part up into the notch, into that little arm. Now go ahead and reinstall the rod that goes to that arm again. Slide it over the pin and then put it into its notch. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with those two green springs. The rearmost being the first one. Put it over the pin using those vice grips, and then the front one goes on just the same. And here's what it should look like when you're all set. Now we're going to make sure that we've got the right adjustment on the rear brakes. You can see here I'm spinning it. We should have a little bit of friction, so I'm going to take that wheel or the brake rotor off, brake drum, and I'm going to use a screwdriver, and you can see that little adjusting wheel down there, and I'm going through the hub, and I'm going to make it spread open a little bit more, thus putting a little bit more force against the brake drum, and I'm going to put it on again. And there's a little bit of friction there, but I'm going to take it off one more time and adjust it a little bit more so that it's a little bit, it's got a little bit more friction tension against that brake drum. Go ahead and do that until you feel like you've got the appropriate amount of drag. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward as I reinstall those 5 lug nuts. I'm torquing the 5 lug nuts in a star pattern to 100 foot-pounds. Now line up the notch for your valve stem with the hubcap, and then using your 19mm socket by hand tighten those lug nut caps, and I'm going to fast forward as I finish that up.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.